Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. In this video, we're going to talk about summer seeding. It's that time again. We're in the middle of February, and I'll explain the seeds that I'm starting today and why I'm starting those particular ones. I'm not starting all the summer things right now. There's a good reason for that. Maybe 3 to 4 weeks ago now, we put up a video on starting our cool season, some of our cool season crops, and this is the lettuce that resulted from that. That's 50 lettuce plants. These will be going into the ground next week. We've got to do a little bit of garden prep, putting down some compost, and then we've got a lot of things that get direct seeded, beets and carrots and a lot of underground things and some other fast growing things that are just easy to do direct seeding. But these were done in the house and look beautiful. And another tray over here that has a broccoli and kohlrabi and cilantro and parsley, several other things in it, also looking good. They're ready to come off the light, so these are just going to go outside, and we'll start to use some organic fertilizer on them. And the way we do that, we water from the bottom of these trays. There's a solid tray underneath the top tray. So basically you get this 50 cell tray here and then a solid tray underneath. And so we always water by just watering under here and having the water wick up. So we'll start mixing in some organic fertilizer, which could be fish emulsion or any kind of organic liquid fertilizer you want to use, and have it start to fertilize these a little bit, because the seed has all it needs to come up, get started, and do this, what you're seeing here. But then it starts to need a little extra oomph until it gets in the ground over there with the compost, and we'll give it some sort of garden tone or plant tone or something at that time when it goes in the ground, and that's it. They'll be fine after that. The summer seeds that we're starting, we get seed from Park Seed, and we get seed from Johnny Seed, a place called Redemption Seeds, garden centers, Baker Creek, box stores, wherever we are that we find seeds, and then we try to keep them in good shape so we can use them for a couple seasons, because a lot of times some of the hybrid seeds will only have like 10, 15 seeds in the packet, and those are like gold. And then some other things you'll get 400 seeds in the pack, and you can use them for a couple of years for sure. So basically, again, we're using this 50 cell tray and using a seed starter mix in there. There's a lot of different ways to start seed, tons of different ways, definitely less expensive ways than we use by using these trays, which are totally reusable. And then we have the light fixtures in the house that we're starting them. You can see how consistent, what we're getting out of is. And the way I look at it again is and I said this in the last video, is I spent a good amount of money on that light rack and some of these trays and some of these things to start this process, but now I'm reusing them over and over and over again. The trays can be washed. The lights are still fine after 5 years maybe now since I put that video up on how I built that light rack. And so, at this point, the cost has been spread out over a long period of time. But again, lots of other ways to start seed. It's getting really, really warm here in Raleigh, way, way too early. So it's like 82 degrees on, I think tomorrow maybe is 82 degrees in a week before the end of February. But anyway, the things that we're going to start now, so we're taking the cool season things off the rack. They're going to get out into the sun, get acclimated, get some fertilizer on them, and we're going to take up the light rack with summer things. So it's February 20th or something like that right now, 21st maybe. We're about 8 weeks from our average last frost date, which is April 15th. And so we look at the back of the packs. The way we organize our seed is and whether this is flowers, vegetables, doesn't really matter. Anything that you're seeding. It can be annuals, perennial flowers, perennials and annuals for the vegetable garden. The way we organize them is the back of the packet will say how long it takes to reach a transplantable size from seed. That means the amount of time it takes me to put a seed in this tray, put it under that light rack or outside or in a jar or however you want to start them, how long before it's generally at a transplantable size to go into the ground. So we're 8 weeks from my frost-free date, or my average last frost date right now. So what we're starting is all the things that say 8, or some of them say 8 to 10 weeks on the back of the packet. And so, but hopefully, they're just at this kind of perfect transplantable size at that moment. And so we're not dealing with big stretched plants. So I'm not starting any of my, some of the things we have only take 4 weeks from seed to a transplantable size. If I start those now, they're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger in the trays and end up very stretched out. Or alternatively, I'm going to have to transplant them into larger and larger pots and take up more and more room. I'd like to just get them to this size and then have them the right height in this tray, and then go directly into the ground, and skip the step of potting them up several times. Again, you can do that as well if you wanted to. But so if you want to start things even earlier, but you probably do need to go through one step in between in order to keep them from getting super leggy. So the things that are going in today is a lot of flowers. Actually, there's very few vegetables that start this early for us. The one eggplant and peppers will be on the list of things we're starting. Peppers, we're doing bell peppers. There's California Wonders here. There's a pepper called Dragonfly Wonder, then we've got tags for all of these. Steph actually went through and made tags, and these are reused plastic tags. You can scrape the writing off from the previous time if you want to, or scratch the thing that was out on the back and write it on the other side, whatever you want to do. But we try to collect tags out of the, back out of the vegetable garden at the end of the season, and reuse them as many times as we can. Just again, and you can use things like soda bottles. You can use things like if you've got some old plastic blinds. You can cut those up into tags, and you can use them over and over and over and over again without having to produce new plastic trash. So again, a lot of these are flowers for the season. We're starting a lot of dahlias. We've got a fence back here that you can't see back here in the background, but you guys know it. It's behind the vegetable garden over there. We're going to, this spring, put the wooden fence in the back, but this chain link fence going up the side will still be here. We're going to have dahlias running that entire length of the fence, and some other things too. And the flowers, you generally face this direction on our dahlias, so they should be the perfect thing to have on the other side of that fence this year. So we're starting lots of dahlias, ones we've collected here, and a few others a few other seeds that we've purchased. We have that salvia, the Summer Jewels salvia. We've had that light pink and the white. What's the other one that we're doing this year? The lavender one. Yeah, and we have a lavender one as well this year. But that Summer Jewels, if you can get that Summer Jewels pink, white, lavender, red, any of those Summer Jewels salvias, they're really, really great annual salvias for the garden. They're perennials south of us, but for us, they're annuals. But man, there's nothing draws the pollinators into this garden like those. They're not the showiest of flowers. In mass, it looks like they're showy flowers, but up close, they're tiny little flowers, but the pollinators just absolutely go crazy for them. We've got some ageratum going in. We have, again, more peppers, got some jalapenos. Milkweed's going in, and your milkweed seeds, your Asclepias, needs some cold treatment typically. You want to read that on the pack. Unless you're buying it, it's already been cold treated. It may need to go in the refrigerator for a few weeks. So check the packet on your Asclepias, whatever varieties that you're using. Eggplant again. Let's see what else. We're doing some winged begonias from seed. It's a teeny tiny little seed. You can tell there's a little pack. It's inside another little pack within a pack. Anytime you feel that, that's going to be a teeny tiny seed. Sometimes these are hard for my big giant fingers to work with very well. I end up dumping a bunch of seeds into each one. Again, there's another bell pepper, and we do a lot of our perennials. We do some perennials from seed every year. This Prairie Sun Rudbeckia doesn't really, it doesn't always come back for us reliably, but we love having it in the garden. So we'll do some more from seed every season and plug some into the spots back here where they don't come back. And we'll know that by the time this seed is up and ready to go in the ground, and it takes a full 8 weeks on Rudbeckia to be ready to go in. By the time it's ready, we'll know what's coming back over here where those are. They're around our redbud that's in the back, our weeping redbud that's in the back garden. Lots and lots of different peppers that we do. This is a tower aster. Some of these asters are really beautiful, but they're really very striking, and we'll put them in between things, in between other perennials, tucked up in shrubs, that kind of thing. They don't support themselves very well, but they'll come up in something, and you'll see these really beautiful flowers. Any of these the tower asters are great choice if you see those available. And then here's an ageratum, Blue Horizon ageratum that we do every year. These things are just fantastic. We mixed them into the front border last year, typically right behind the camera back here in the shady area. They do quite well as also. So we've found them to do pretty well in half a day's sun up to full sun. Another one of those teeny tiny little seeds, but super reliable coming up from seed and super reliable in the ground. Another Asclepias or butterfly weed, and then again various asters. Here's one called Starlight Mix that we do, and these again we just plug them into little gaps and holes between shrubs, and the shrubs will support them, and you'll see the flowers all summer, and the pollinators love them. We're doing again more and more asters. There's some Angelonia that we're doing from seed, another one that's in a little vial within there. I haven't had the most luck with Angelonia from seed, so this will be our second season. We're going to try it again, and I'm backing up a bit and seeing if we can get a slightly more mature plant before they go in the ground. Angelonia is super easy if you buy it as a plant, but for some reason here at the house, it wasn't as easy for us in our light rack. A third ageratum, just love ageratums, and they're so easy. If they get bigger than you want during the growing season, you can just hack them off. Another salvia called Fairy Queen, can't get enough salvias. Pollinators love them. And we're doing some of our impatiens and just basic vinca impatiens, those kinds of things that you would buy in little 4 or 6 packs at the garden centers or box stores or wherever. Doing some of those just to cut the cost down on those things. Again, we got the 50 cell tray filled with the mix. Got the solid tray on the bottom of it. Got some water in there. It takes a couple times watering it to soak it up in there. And then we just followed the directions on the seed. If the seed packet is a couple of seasons old at this point, I'll put more seed. So I'll do this. I'll open this ageratum, which I expect to be quite small. Yeah, they didn't put this one in a vial, and it's teeny, tiny. So with a small seed, I just put them directly on top of the soil, and then I press them in slightly. If it's a larger seed, I'll poke a hole with a pencil or something like that, and just barely covered. Pretty much any seed you want to plant in a system like this, barely covered. These are the things we start early. Some things get direct seeded into the ground, and so you'll see that when that time comes up. But I typically will just tap the side of the packet to allow a couple of these into each cell. And then I'll find the tag that Steph made for these. In the tags, and I'll put one on the end of it just to make sure that we know what it is. That tag will follow it into the ground. If it's something that's going into a container, a lot of these flowering things may be going into containers. Actually, some of the vegetables might be going into containers as well. We do document what works for us and what doesn't work for us, and so we know when we're purchasing seed that we're not buying, because it's easy to go back and go, oh, I think we grew this one time. Was it good or was it bad? If you can't remember, then you can reorder and do the same mistake, or something that doesn't work for you or doesn't work in your garden very well over and over and over again. So this allows us to, to document it as we go. But there you go. There's where we are right now. We've got cool season vegetables off the rack and ready to go in the ground. And so you'll see that garden prep and the cool season vegetables going in the ground. I've got this big stack that I just went through that are going onto the light rack today. 2 weeks from now, we'll pull out all the packs of flowers and vegetables that say 6 weeks on them. 6 weeks from seed to transplant. 2 weeks after that, which will be March 15th, March 18th, March 20th, something like that, we'll pull out all the things that say 4 weeks from seed to transplant, and those will go in. And that's the progress. So hopefully, in and around our average last frost date, all of these trays, and it'll be a lot of trays. I mean, it probably will be on the level of maybe 20 trays of plants that will be ready, and it will be, again, flowering annuals, flowering perennials, and then of course vegetables for the vegetable garden, and lots of things for containers as well that you guys will see planted from April 15th to probably take a couple weeks to about the 1st of May. So thank you guys for following along with it. And you can see, again, there's lots and lots of different ways to start seed. I've got an entire playlist on the channel about how to start starting things from seed if you want to go back through that. And I teach this in a little more detail over there. The main thing is we water from the bottom and we let it become slightly dry in between waterings, because water is your enemy with something like a seed that doesn't really have a lot of roots on it. Being careful not to overwater it is one of the main. Moist but not wet is the kind of the key to the kingdom on this, and then getting them off the light and out into the sun as fast as possible and start the organic fertilizer on them. So thank you guys for following along with the channel, and we'll be back soon showing you the progress throughout the season. Thanks for watching.